Hey there, and welcome to the UX Business Architect. I'm Mercedes Johnson, and here on this channel, I focus on bridging the gap between UX design and business strategy. Whether you're looking to sharpen your UX skills or start your own business, here you'll learn practical tips and strategies to help you succeed. In today's video, we're going to cover a crucial topic of getting started with a new team. Whether you're joining a new team or leading one, setting the tone early is key. It also helps to know in advance what tools you're going to use and how to build trust amongst your coworkers. We're going to walk through some practical steps to get started, some AI tools that you can leverage, and some things you're going to want to know before entering the workforce. Plus, you'll also get an inside look at the slides and tips I share in my live workshops. Let's jump in. So, we're going to jump right into it. We got a lot to cover today, but basically, hopefully what I hope you walk away with this, away from today with. Today we're going to learn about how to integrate designers effectively into new teams. So as I was mentioning earlier, and for those who just joined, the goal of this series and these events is to help you understand from start to finish what you need to know as a designer in the workforce. So I'm going to start at the very, very beginning. Day one, you start up with a new team, a new job, a new project, and you're like, what the heck do I do, right? This is going to be day one, the very first activity that you're going to want to do with your team. And that's what we're going to focus on now. I'm also going to go over some of the tools that you want to be aware of. Make sure you have them ready. You can kind of pick and choose, and we'll cover which ones they are, which ones work best for you. But you're going to want to kind of do some preliminary research in advance to make sure that you have those set up before you start with your new team. And I'll tell you kind of the advantages of those. And then we're going to cover the activity. And that's going to be, let's say theoretically, you are in charge of this team. You're the lead, you're the manager, whatever it is. Or you're a participant and you want to manage up. This might be an activity that you would recommend or that you facilitate with your brand new team, right? And so we're going to go through how to do this activity, the importance of this activity, and you're going to walk away today with the materials to conduct that activity. And we'll get it in the Figma file. All you guys will receive an email, and just make sure you copy and paste it into your own Figma file before you leave, because afterwards I got to shut off all the access so I don't get billed $1 million with Figma. So that's what we're going to cover today. But more importantly, when are you going to need this? All the time. This is an activity that I do with my teams every single time I get a new client, every single time that I'm meeting with a new team, or if we're bringing in people into our team and it's been a while since we've kind of sat down and reacclimated, that's also a great opportunity to go through this exercise. Any questions? Cool. Let's move on. So before we get into like the nitty-gritty, this is just something to kind of be aware of whenever you're starting off with a new team. You're going to have to go through the people dynamics and navigating those. And it's always a little bumpy, right? You're kind of learning people's communication types. You're learning their working style, their work ethic. So that's where we're in this forming phase. So forming, this is where you're doing introductions. You're just all kind of figuring out like what the heck you're here to do, what you're building, all of that jazz. So once you kind of get that understanding, then you're going to go through the storming phase. So it's like, all right, well, I'm going to do this. You're like, no, I'm going to do that. And you're like, no, you're stepping on my toes, back up. I'm the boss here. Things like that, right? That's going to happen. You're going to have those power struggles. It's normal, right? But understand that it's a part of a phase, and it's going to happen pretty much every time you start off with a new team. So if you understand how people kind of organize and know where you're at with your team and what you're experiencing, it helps you get through that, right? So when it's like, okay, we're bumping heads, you know that we're at the storming phase. We haven't quite made it to the norming phase. Let me just kind of power through this, see how we can work through this conflict, how we can get past it so that we can move forward. So once you guys kind of figure out your own responsibilities and different ways of working and your different perspectives on how you think the problem should be solved, that's when you start moving into the norming phase. And that's when you're starting to be more collaborative. You're starting to see a little bit more progress. You're actually getting things out the door. And that's when you can kind of know that you're there. And then lastly, of this flow, you're going to land in the performing phase. And going through this is going to take a different amount of time each time you start off with a new team. Some teams get through it relatively quickly. If you have a larger team, it's probably going to take a little bit longer, right? So just kind of keep that in mind as you're going through it with your new team. But performing is where you want to strive to get to. That's where you guys are a well-oiled machine. You have your operating model kind of ironed out. You know how to communicate with each other. You know who's responsible for delivering what, and you guys are able to produce on a regular cadence. Does that make sense? Cool. Other way. All right. So getting started with a new team, I'm going to spend a little bit of time going through these. First, understanding team dynamics. Best thing to do when you're starting off with a new team is to just observe, especially if you're coming into a team that's already been established and you're kind of like the new guy on the block. Don't come in and be like, we should do this and we should do that and go this way and, you know, have you tried this? Like, kind of sit back and observe everybody. Observe how they communicate. Observe their cultural dynamics, right? Is it that everyone stops working at lunchtime on the spot 12 o'clock, right? And that's just something that they do. There's going to be unspoken norms, right? And it's going to take you a while to figure out what those are. So when you're first new to a team, I know it can be exciting. If you're in charge, you might want to like make a strong impact, but give an opportunity to just kind of learn the people and sit back for a while and observe everything. And then you also just want to listen to what they're saying, right? Be very attentive to how they're communicating with each other, how directives are being given, things like that. Take notes and just observe. Once you've kind of gone through that, the next thing that you absolutely need to know at the very, very beginning when you're starting off with a team is what is your role and what are your responsibilities. And there's a difference between responsibility and ownership, right? And you'll start to hear these words come up whenever you are working with teams. You own this, or you're responsible for that, right? Responsibility is if it goes out the door and your pixels are off and everything's center aligned when it should be left aligned, or the hex codes are wrong and you are responsible for that, you might not have done the work, right? But you are made responsible for overseeing it